discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, this video is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering you a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial membership. All you need to do is go to audibletrial.com/BGUnlocked. The link is in the description below, and now enjoy the video. Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for Unbroken, the solo game of survival and revenge. This is going to be an interesting discussion because this game has a lot of backlash based because of the publisher that made this game and their responses on Kickstarter, which I will of course talk about here. But disregarding that, this game is actually not terrible. You would think, and I really feel for the designer because I don't think he had a hand in any of the issues that surrounded the game. But essentially, Golden Bell Studios, Golden Bell Games or whatever, just is essentially like harassed a lot of people throughout their Kickstarter process and like took everything real personal and was targeting and insulting specific people and threatening to sue over a bunch of shit. And then they also tried to pull some shady shit by being like, hey, to receive your game you actually have to spend, you have to give us an extra $30 to cover shipping, because they just mismanaged how much all that was going to cost. And of course everyone's like, no, that's not how that fucking works. Like, I'd pay for shipping ahead of time, and you send me the game. You don't get to just hold it hostage and then start demanding stuff. I actually personally didn't go through that. I got my game really with no issues. I was actually surprised I got it without having to deal with any of that. But just the fact that they did, I really feel bad for Artem Safarov, because it seems like he wants the game to actually be like its own world. Within the Kickstarter came like one sheet music, which was weird, but like a map and a bunch of other things that revolved around the world of Unbroken. And there's some interesting things within the world, like a long ago world of Unbroken and backstory. It's all, I mean, it's pretty interesting. Although it's kind of weird because you just think of this as a survival game and there's really not a whole lot of theme around it. It's just a revenge thing. Like, oh, I'm gonna, I was left barely alive going into this cave to go, and I'm gonna go kill these monsters. But, I mean, the fact that he does want to whirl around it, and I think he was gonna be working on a sequel, I'm just hoping he's not stuck with working with Golden Bell. Because that would just, that would, for all intents and purposes, just ruin any other aspect that he wants with this game. But with that being said, this game is not bad at all. Like, it's an interesting survival game that hinges on quite a bit of luck, as well, like a push your luck mechanic, as well as some strategy. More luck than strategy, I would say. Because what you're doing here is you're having to manage resources and the time that you're given, but you're at the whim of this encounter deck. So there's quite a few options. Like in my playthrough, I went through half the deck, and so what you do is you essentially shuffle this deck together, and then you just come across what you come across. So how well your game is going to go is going to be dictated by the way these cards come out. So in my situation, I hardly ever had food. Like, it was, if I did find food, it was very lucky, and it was a lot of free stuff, but mainly I found a lot of effort, a lot of ways to rejuvenate the effort that I was spending or losing in fights to get all that back, which helped me not starve, because you can spend effort to not starve. And that helped me throughout a bunch of different levels. Then, when it did come down to finding food, I got lucky, and on that, in that regard. I also got pretty lucky on the way the skills came out and the way the monsters came out. So everything is virtually random in this game, which is funny because it's a game about survival, and it's so like the things that are lucky are, one, the encounter cards that come out. Then, the way your skills are, but they kind of help mitigate it because you get to draw two and pick one, so at least you have some decision. It's not just always drawing the top one and be like, oh, I didn't need that. Oh, look, spearfishing, I don't have metal, so I can't do that. You at least get to draw two and be like, okay, well, I can do this one because I can't do this one. So that does help, and I like that a lot. Or you can be like, okay, well, I can't do any of these, which very rarely did that come up. Like, a lot of times it came up, well, I can't do this one, so I guess I'll do this one. And almost everything is beneficial to you at least. Because if it's like, well, I really want food, but I guess I'll get metal, fine. Like, a lot of things can use metal. Like, you can come across a different encounter where it's like, hey, spend metal to get this. Or you can use the metal mainly to upgrade your weapons. But if not, then you can go, okay, well, I'll spend the time and I'll gain more effort, because a lot of things you need to use your weapons and to, when you're getting wounded by creatures, like, cost effort. And if you ever cannot lose effort, then you basically give up the will to live and you die. So I like that. I like that there is some mitigation. And then I also really like to push your luck. Like, you'll sit there and be like, oh man, I have 3 time left. I really don't want to be ambushed. Or even worse, I have 2 time left. What are the chances of me getting like a 1 time or even a free one? And then you'll risk it and you'll be like, oh damn it, these both cost 2. And regardless of what you do, like, you can't rest to get out of spending time. You always have to spend the time. And you're like, damn it, so then you just run that risk. Or you're like, okay, I guess maybe the creature's not around. Maybe I'll get lucky. And then you rest, and then it's like, aha, I'm here. And each of them have an ambush effect. Like, the troll, for example, you have to lose 2 food, which sucks because if he went off and actually attacked me like that, then I would have been screwed. But the troll takes a turn for each food you could not lose, which is really bad because he could be really rough, because at the end of the fight, he can be a really shitty one. It was fitting, funny enough, that he was the final one in my fight, because he didn't have any misses. He always caused effort to be lost, and he did a lot of wounding, but he healed like at the end of each turn. So my counterattack kept hitting him, but then he just kept healing from it. So I had to risk everything to try and do a final blow to him. And luckily, I didn't even think about me being able to gain effort from eating the 3 food and then having just enough left to, like, it was really fitting, and that was a lot of fun. But, like, the luck, so that's lucky. Then the luck of their attacks. So you'll roll the die and be like, okay, it's a 4, he's disarming me, so now I'm going to bare hands. Bare hands. Like, which might be like, oh man, that sucks. Which, at first I was like, oh yay, I can be disarmed. But then I realized, oh, I can only do 2 damage. I have to use 2 effort to do 1 damage, which will heal. So the bare hands aren't going to do anything with that. But there's some monsters in here that are really mean. Like, one of the level 4s I had to fight was not that one. It was the ogre. And his number 6 is he downgrades your weapon permanently. So whenever I first played this game, I had to fight him, and it's like you put all that effort into getting all the, well, not really effort, you just luckily get all the ingredients. And I had the spear. The spear is really good too. It's not as powerful, but it can be, and there's a lot of ways to damage things with it. But he just destroys it, so then you go down to bare hands, and you're like, oh, great, so that's kind of annoying. And there's really nothing you can do about that. There are some things, like some of the skills that you can get can help you with that. So if you're like, okay, well, I'll hit him. Like the one I had that was defensive stance, where it's like, okay, I'll hit him for 5, but I'll really just do 4 to -2. If you like, the strategy is to scout. So you can see what you're going to fight, to plan for, like, the ogre, and be like, okay, if he rolls a 6, that's going to destroy my axe or destroy my spear that I worked hard to get. So I'm going to probably be using defensive stance a lot to ensure a 6 will never come up. So that's where the strategy can come in. But ultimately, you strategize around the luck of what you're given throughout the game. But the game's not that long. Like, I think mine was an hour, which is not terrible. Like, this is actually a fun game for an hour. But, let's see. Let's talk about negatives. And there's really not a lot for understanding what kind of game this is. Like, you have to understand it's a push your luck kind of game. Like, I just wish there were more weapons. Like, your only weapons, you have your bare hands, which you always start with, And then you have basic weapons, which is a club or a knife. And which one you go with dictates which type of advanced weapon you can get. If you do the club, you can make a maul or an axe from that. And if you do the knife, you can make a sword or a spear from that. And I mean, yeah, they all do their different thing. Like a maul definitely does a lot more armor damage. Sword does, more wounds. Spear has a lot more attacks and different variations, but also requires more effort. Like the sword the sword has just as many different options, and 1, 1, 3, and 5, whereas the spear is 1, 2, 3, and 5. But I can use 1 effort to break a shield and 1 effort to do a damage instead of 2 efforts to do a shield and stuff like that. And then you guys saw the axe, where I actually realized that was really bad because you need to have the ultimate efforts to be able to do a lot of damage, but you do a lot of damage. Which I was really glad that all of my monsters that came out happened to have no armor. All of them had no armor, which was fantastic. Let's see. Ultimately, like, my only negative stem from that, the game is very swingy. Like, this game went perfectly. My very first game with this did not. Like, it was bad. Like, there was nothing, like, it was just like, oh, great, another 6. Okay, so he fucks me again. And there's just nothing you can do. So if you don't like luck-heavy games, this is not going to be for you. But I will say, as a solo game, it's actually a lot of fun. There's not a lot of moving parts. Everything's just right in front of you. I like the management of resources. I like the decisions you can come across. And the encounter, it's thematic. Like, I really do like all the flavor text. There's a bunch of flavor text in this game. Every flavor text on conditions, on skills, on encounters, on monsters. All that is really nice and brings the theme out a little bit more. And it helps if you read the beginning thing. I wasn't going to read all that to you just because it's really long. But I don't really have, I wish there were more weapons. Like, it would just be nice. Like, instead of having 4 advanced weapons, there were a bunch. That would be really cool. Maybe more basic weapons that branch off into other things. Just give you more options to fight. The monster... Oh, more characters. There were only 4. Tomu, the sage, he was interesting. I liked his dangerous idea because it gave me more time, which I really liked, but that was lucky. Then the memorize came in handy a couple times. It would have been helpful last game I played because there were a lot of times where I was like, oh, I wish I could do both, but I can't. And then cunning didn't really ever come up. I never really wanted to spend effort to gain cunning, but there were times where cunning would have been helpful. More characters would have been really nice. There are quite a few monsters. There's 6 for each level, basically because how you decide... you can randomly shuffle depending on the level they are on, but typically what I do is you just roll this die, and then there's a icon that corresponds to what your result is, so that determines what you scout. I would almost say you should scout every single time, just to plan ahead, and it gets more and more difficult to scout, but it's almost necessary, because it's like, especially in level 1, because you don't want to rely on something that it's like, great, I did not plan for this at all. Like, none of my skills or anything are going to help in that. Like, I'm pretty sure the only reason I was able to beat the troll was because I scouted ahead of time, and that's luckily who I was able to get, but, like, if you scout as one of your first actions or something, then you can see who, like, you scout ahead, and you're like, oh, okay, so that's the thing that ultimately killed my team. And then you can try and encounters and be like, okay, well, he's going to take a lot of effort, so I'm just going to rest a lot and prepare for that. Or he's going to take a lot of food or something, and it's like, okay, I'm going to try and get as much food as possible. So, scout, that's the strategy. The strategy is trying to figure out how best to beat this, because, that's how you win, is you go through 4 different monsters. But there's 6 of each, so 24 monsters total in the game. Not a bad number at all. This is your variety here. But I do like the characters. The one I had last time was the Hunter, and he was really good because he required, I think he required 1 less food. I'm not going to get him out. I think he's actually in the back of this. Let's see. Yeah, it's somewhere. So there's different classes. Sneak class. Yeah, the Hunter class. Huckdorf. It doesn't say what he does, but I'm pretty sure he required like one less food, but he can also use an action to find food, which was very helpful. Yeah, there's 4 different classes: Sneak class, Sage class, Hunter class, and Brawler class. It's like, thematically it's nice too, because they do the exact same thing, but there's a female and a male side. So that's pretty cool. They all have a backstory, which is pretty neat. And I should have read that but I forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. I expected it to actually be really bad. So, I mean, I can't really think of anything else, like, to really talk about with it. My one concern with this game is it's not bad because I haven't played it a lot. But I feel this game would lose out, like, it would just, like, after 5 plays or something, you'd probably be like, oh, okay, like, I've seen the encounter cards, like, enough, like, the monsters aren't that dramatically different, so I feel like this game is going to suffer from not having a lot of replayability. I've had fun both times, but I think if you break it out every once in a while, like, if this was your only game, then yeah, it wouldn't be that good, but if you have, a collection of sorts, and you break it out every once in a while, just for a quick solo game, then yeah, I think it's definitely worth keeping. On a scale of 1 to 10, like, 6.5, like, I think is where I'm sitting. Like, yeah, it's a little bit above average, and it also depends if you like solo games, and this is solo only. I'm not a solo player too much. When I do it, I enjoy it, but for the most part, I don't ever really, mess with it. But it's not bad. I'm curious to see what other solo players think of the game, because they probably play a lot more, so they can compare this to other solo experiences. I will say I do like the idea of a game being centered around solo versus kind of having AI players, that it's like, hey, here's your solo, mode in this game, and they just get to do free stuff, and you just have to work your ass off to try and beat the fact that they just get to do things for free. But yeah, like 6.5, I think, is where I'm feeling right now. Not quite a 7, but it's not a 5. It's a little bit above average. I just don't see myself playing it. And it's not like that invigorating. Like, it's not like the most exciting things ever. Like, you're just kind of managing a lot of stuff. It's like, oh, okay, let's just move these slides. Component quality is alright. Like, the cards are okay. Like, these inset boards are nice, but it would have been really nice if they weren't just completely open like that, if they were, like, actually, they had individual slots for the cubes. But, I don't know. Yeah, 6.5 is where I'm at. And not a terrible game. So that is my thoughts on Unbroken. Let me know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching this, and if you like this video, then click the subscribe button below to enjoy any video that I put out. And right next to that subscribe button is a little bell. Click that so you get notified of whenever I actually upload these videos. If you want to support the channel, you can definitely visit my Patreon page. The link is in the description below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.